Fueled by Death Guest.
You were one of our biggest supporters. This is a story I don't even know if I know the answer to. How did you first hear about Death Wish Coffee?
Oh my God, I don't remember. That's a good question. I just, because I
love coffee.
I love coffee,
Yeah.
and up till now, up till then, my favorite had been the Small World coffee in Princeton, which I thought was really good. And then I had your coffee, and I was like, oh wait, okay, this is yeah. So, so I don't remember. I think it would have been a convention, right?
It must have been.
It would have been a convention, and I was like, wow, I'm all over this coffee because And so since then, and I'm like, I tell people, you're not really my corporate sponsor, but I'm like, you got to try this coffee.
One paid for.
It's close enough because I'm not kidding. The amount of events that we do now with the company, because a couple of years ago we weren't even doing a lot of events, but now we do, New York Comic Con, and we've done some Walker Stalkers and stuff, and even like a tattoo convention. We have people come up to us on the regular and go, oh, Death Wish Coffee, you know where I heard about you? Amy Chu told me about your coffee. And it's just like, you are the best. Like,
no, you guys are, well, first of all, also, you have increased my status within the comics creator world, because that one time you brought that air pot of coffee, and I had it under my table.
I remember that.
Oh, yeah.
People are like, how did you do, like, I'm like,
Okay, so full disclosure, let's tell this story out there for people listening, because I think this is a fun story. So two New York Comic Cons ago, we brought our coffee truck down. And
coffee truck.
Yeah, our coffee truck. And
We're getting a better one. It's much bigger, much better.
If you've ever been to the Javits Center, it was out in the roadway in front of the Javits Center, and we were serving samples. And Javits told us you can serve samples outside, but you cannot bring the coffee inside because they have a deal with Starbucks. Like everything in the Javits Center is a Starbucks kiosk. I get it. I get the corporate thing.
So after the first day of doing the New York Comic Con thing and being like, man, we're making a lot of coffee, we got to get it out there, and we were kind of scouting Artist Alley at that point, and it was like, why don't we in the morning? We thought of this during the first night. Why don't we hit up Artist Alley with air pots, and we'll just pump it out and hook up all the artists so they're waking up.
I was not working for Death Wish at this time. I was just I was just a consultant with the company to help them bridge into the comic book industry. So I said, I'm not a full-time employee. I'll put a pump pot full of coffee in my backpack, and I'll walk through Artist Alley, and we'll just start giving people, pump pots.
And it got great footage, too, because we walked around with a camera following it around, and here we are. What's a Ren and Stimpy guy?
Bob Camp.
Oh, man, we got such great footage with Bob Camp.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
But then, cut to the next day, it worked out so well that we love you, and we were, and Amy was right in the center of all of the entire Artist
popular. I was so popular.
So we were like,
so you were, you are.
So we were like, let's leave a pump pot with her, and so we just left a pump pot right on your table,
and we come over and switch it out every now and then.
It was like a coffee speakeasy.
Yeah,
like, I heard you got coffee.
I heard you got coffee.
I'm like, here, quick.
So, cut to the next year, which was last year. We were going to go back down to New York Comic Con, and we actually became the official coffee of New York Comic Con last year.
Oh, I did
really?
not.
Yeah,
okay.
Which was really cool. We had the tiniest, smallest little byline in the program that said it, but we were the official coffee of New York Comic Con. But we found out going into it that the catering company of Javits was really mad at us.
Oh, I bet.
For what we did
because your coffee
the year
is
before.
so much better.
It was worth it. It's worth it.
The hell yeah. Catering companies can go suck it.
Yeah, we weren't just going to sit in our truck and be nice.
What is the name
boys,
of the catering company so I can crap all over
Javits Catering.
Javits Catering? Really?
I don't know.
It's like the foods. It's like the food service.
Yeah.
They're always any event that we go to. The catering people are like the mob.
Yeah.
Even the tattoo convention, the New York State Tattoo Convention.
Oh, they're Teamsters, man.
It was crazy. They were like, every can of Nitro Brew that you hand out, you have to pay us $4 because that's what we're losing out on. And we finally agreed to that.
You did that?
We finally agreed to that. They called us up 10 minutes later. I probably shouldn't talk. Anyways, they were like, actually, it's going to be $6.50 a can.
Yeah, they tried to gouge us more. Yeah,
and we're like, actually, we're going to pack up and go. They're like, no, $4 is fine. $4 is fine.
Wow.
We did it.
Are
we
you
didn't do
serious?
It.
Wow.
We didn't do it for our whole stock. We did it so we could give out X amount of, because that was when we were pushing out that cold brew at the time. So we wanted to give it away.
But guess what?
Yeah.
You're not only paying what it costs you to give out, like
Paying
$2.
to make it.
You're Yeah, it costs you, say, $4 a
Yeah.
can, which you're giving out.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you got to give these extortionist scumbags an extra $4.
Yeah.
So you're double. Oh,
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
It's
But was it worth
crazy.
it?
For an event like that? I'll say this. I'll end it on a nice note.
Okay, you do that.
Yeah, it was worth it to the point
I
where
wouldn't either.
It definitely
Nor
helped
will
get
I.
the brand out there,
Right.
especially to a lot of the bigger tattoo artists that were there.
Sure.
And we still hear people. In fact, we were just at I forget what event we were at. Walker Stalker, New Jersey in December, and we had a bunch of people come up and say that they remembered us from that event.
Right,
So and they had started to drink the coffee because of it. So it all helps out. No, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world, and,
Right,
and
but,
caterers
you know.
are the mob. It's crazy.
Yeah.
See, Artist Alley, we're cheap. You just give us coffee.
Yeah.
And it's good coffee. We're like, all right,
Yeah.
we're sold.
And that's why we wanted to get into an industry like the comic book industry. That was one of the things I was consulting the company about because they are Death Wish is always looking for new avenues because you can only do the coffee convention circuit so much.
Right.
You know, like it gets really boring.
And even those guys
Coffee
don't like
and
us
comics.
either.
That was it. It was a
Good,
coffee and
'cause-
comics panel.
Coffee and comics.
I
If you
had
don't
it.
have
That's
enemies,
right. I had the
Dustin,
coffee. I'm like, you know
know.
what? These guys would be
You're
good
not
for the
doing it
coffee
right.
and comics panel.
Yeah,
World's
and-
strongest coffee,
and-
comics.
We've done the coffee and comics panel with you a couple times in Baltimore.
What started
Once-
that panel? I've always
What
been
she did.
curious.
Yeah,
So
because- Because, again, how many times do you do a panel where it's just the most boring panel in the world? I shouldn't say it's the most boring panel, but
Sometimes it
is.
You're just talking about comics. It's like,
Yeah.
well, why don't we do something we all love, drink coffee, and talk about comics? So that
And-
was really the inspiration.
And it really is, and I tell this story. I actually heard this story on your first ever comics and coffee panel in New York. The old adage that you go through the original artwork of the greatest artists out there from the the golden age, silver age of comics, and what do you find on that artwork all the time? A coffee stain.
Sure.
Always. Coffee fuels the industry.
There
so
are
it's like
very few people who actually who don't drink coffee in this business.
Greg Pak.
He did. Oh, that's right.
Baltimore Comic-Con 2015 maybe, we did a coffee and comics panel there, and he was late, and then it was announced to the entire packed room of people that he's a tea drinker. So he got a standing boo-vation when he walked through the door.
He could take it.
He could take it. No, it was all in fun.
But
It
it was
was
all in fun. But almost everybody I know, everyone else, basically, they need it.
Yeah.
They need it.
Yeah.
And
Anybody who's not getting enough sleep needs
Yeah.
strong coffee.
And every time it's like people want to be on the panel. They're like, how come I'm not invited on the panel? I'm like, oh, well, you didn't tell me you wanted to be on the panel. They're like, I drink coffee too.
Yeah, no, and those panels are so much fun. I hope we get to do
Like
more of those.
Stelfreeze, Brian Stelfreeze.
Yeah.
He was all miffed he didn't get invited. And
Yeah.
Laura Martin got invited. I'm like, well, Laura was the one who told me you drank tea.
It's what's going to happen.
And Dustin, I have to ask, what is enough sleep? There is no such thing.
I don't know.
Anyone who doesn't get it, no one gets
Okay,
enough
let me.
sleep.
Anybody dealing with
sleep.
deadlines.
Anyone
right?
who deals with children, anyone who's got a job, anyone whose mind doesn't shut off at the end of the day.
Yeah.
This thing. Ugh.
Really, coffee helps that because coffee makes that worse for me. I
Coffee
can't.
helps me in the morning when I'm like, oh, I couldn't get to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, the
So,
next day. Yeah,
yeah.
but I feel like coffee causes that situation more often than not.
Coffee causes nothing but bliss. Don't ever forget.
That's the problem.
Where
I
do
don't
you
wanna
work?
sleep. It's too
Holy
blissful.
cow.
But seeing as though we're talking about the conventions, I mean, you do a ton of conventions a year. Do you know how many conventions you did last year?
No.
That's how many you do.
I did look at it, and actually, I'm doing less than when I was trying to break in. So
Really?
I did count. My peak, I think, was 2013, and I did 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you find, as a creator, do you find it's hard? Speaking of conventions and deadlines, is it hard to juggle both? Is it hard to
Sure.
do
Sure.
that?
Yeah. I mean, you got to make a calculated decision also because, I mean, the editors are also, they know you're at the convention.
Right.
If you're late, it's like, so I do make a point. I work at the convention. So they walk by, I'm like, I'm working on your script.
Yeah.
And drinking coffee because
Yeah.
I'm not getting any sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hard. It's even harder for the artist. I can work at a convention at my table, and people are like, how do you do it? I was like, well, I got kids, you
Right.
know. I got to be able to,
Compartmentalize
Multitask.
everything.
multitask
yeah.
and also deal with background noise. But I think it is harder for artists because they need to have their setup and but as a writer you can do it it's just it's a little harder for sure.
And I know what's refreshing about somebody like you, I know you love to do the conventions because and I think you've either told me this before or I've read this as a quote from you, but that you like it as like a litmus test of like what the industry is actually, the living and breathing industry. Because, I mean, as a writer or an artist, you're not really getting a lot of that feedback just sitting in your studio or whatever.
That's the fun part about working. I'll work at my table, and it's like real life. Look, comics are actually made. I am writing the script right now, and people are like, oh, my God. Like I'm writing Red Sonja or Green Hornet right now. And then I get the response. I'll be like, oh, I really like what happened in this previous issue or whatever. And that gives me immediate feedback. And sometimes I might even put that person in, or something that they say may actually go in because, they're reading it and they're telling me something. And that actually happened at Denver. There's one guy who's talking about, I think he's from Oklahoma. And basically I ended up putting in a Native American reference because what he was talking about.
That's so cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
It was really cool because, he's from there. And I'm like, well, this is what's happening right now. And he's like, well, that their area has, it was really informative for me. And hopefully he felt good about it too.
That's really cool. And now I know this story, but I know a lot of our listeners don't. You have an incredible origin story in this industry. I feel
weird, yeah.
Well, I just think I think it's inspiring is the word I use for it because because you worked hard and it paid off, kind of thing. Can we talk a little bit of how you broke into the industry?
Sure. That's like the thing, and I get people now who are like, well, weren't you worried? Wasn't it a huge risk? And I don't think you think about it that way. I think if you want to do something like this, you go all in. You just do it. It's not like I maxed out my credit card or anything. It was really just. How do I make good comics, and how do I get to the point where I'm professional level, and hopefully I get the professional work.
Right.
And it's really just working backwards from there. I'm like, okay, for me to get the attention of a professional editor, I got to self-publish. There's just almost no way to do it else, as a writer. So, it was really just working backwards from there. I'm like, okay, for me to self-publish and for someone to actually look at, I need to try to find a really great artist, So it's just all that thinking, It's just constantly, and then of course doing 23 conventions in 1 year.
Yeah.
And almost dying, but I had coffee, so.
Yeah. But is that how you kind of networked? Is through the conventions?
Yeah, because that's the other thing. It's there's so many people for any creative business too. You're trying to break in, you're trying to do good work, you're trying to also learn things. It's kind of hard to do all that without, at least for mainstream comics, without meeting people face to face. And it's not even just, especially for someone like me who's so new. I didn't really know anything. It was really meeting fans, meeting artists. It's really important to, because when you're working on a comic, you're working on a creative team. It's almost, I don't want to say it's like getting married, but it's a relationship.
It's kind of like being in a band.
Yes,
that's how I imagined it. Anyways,
it is, and doing these shows, it's like a road trip. It's like it's doing a whole tour.
Yeah.
And you're dying, but you do it because you love what you do so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And again, just touching on that, I think that is something that is lost on a lot of the younger generation nowadays, is that you can still, even with the saturation of social media and the saturation of everybody being able to do whatever they want, you can still go out there and do it. You just make it happen.
You can do it. You can. If I feel like if I did it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're going to get your Marvel or DC byline is a whole nother thing. But you put the work in, you will make a comic.
Right.
Do you look fondly back on those days?
Do I look fun? No, you know what? You know how there's that new meme, that the 2012, 2016
Yeah.
I was like, let me take a look at that for myself. And, I'm probably like 20 pounds heavier. But 2012, I'm like, holy crap. That's when my first comic came out. So it's literally, if I were to do a comics 12, 16 thing, it was just my one comic, which wasn't even really my comic. I lettered my friend's comic. And then, where I am today, working on 4 titles.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's
and drinking
again,
a lot of coffee.
Again, it's that inspiring thing that you can go out there and get it. You just have to put the work in. You just have to want to get it.
Put the work. Well, it's not even just putting the work in. It's being smart about how you put the work in.
Yeah.
Because I definitely have seen the people I see who've made it with me are smart about how they're doing it. You know, if you can just, there are a lot of people who want it so bad and they just keep wanting it. It's like, that's not it.
Right.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. You know, it's also, maybe you did some good work, but you get discouraged and then you sort of drift off. That's the other problem. But it is really kind of just being really, really focused and smart.
Yeah. And speaking of looking back on your career in comics, you just celebrated actually a reissue that's coming out very soon of one of your first comics ever.
Oh my
right?
gosh, yes, and I'm like dying because I'm supposed to have it out by now. It's a little late. Yeah, it's a little late.
Don't bring it up,
But
Jeff.
it's okay. No, it's good. I feel like I need to, because I'm in a position now where I'm really, really lucky that I have so much work. I'm full time. I'm more than full time. Like I can pay the bills full time writing comics. How crazy is that?
That's so crazy awesome.
Yeah, and so I owe my Kickstarter backers an apology, but it's.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's all right. It's all right.
He's like giving me the look.
Hey,
It's okay.
I'm waiting on it too. It's all
No,
good.
but the good thing is because I feel so guilty that I'm going to make sure that you guys are more than rewarded because now I have a lot of comics that I've put out in the last 3 months. That it's been late 3 months.
That's okay though. But that's exciting to be able to look back at
Yeah.
something that you did early in your career
Yeah.
and now recollect it as this
Well,
new.
that's part of the paralysis because I look back on it. I'm like, oh, I can make this better.
Which is fun.
Yeah, I got 4 years of experience where I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's improve on it's director's cut. Is what it is.
I like to ask creators this question: what do you think of the Kickstarter, Indiegogo culture that we're in now? Did you enjoy doing that with a Kickstarter?
I did. That was my third Kickstarter.
Yeah, I know you've
third
done a couple.
Kickstarter. Yeah, so it was definitely. I like it because what it is it takes away the gatekeepers. This is the problem with
Right.
like so-called breaking in is that somebody's got to hire you. But now you got crowdfunding where you can be entrepreneurial. And again, this is part of the being smart part. Ooh, thank you.
Go.
Like, that. Smelling that.
Yeah, it's a
sudden pause in talking.
It smells amazing. I'm sorry to
I
interrupt.
wish everybody was here with us.
Everybody
right
drink
now.
black. I do have cream and sugar if you want to sully the taste of this fine coffee.
No.
but
This
okay.
is. I'm quite happy.
Okay,
yeah.
just
I'm
making
not a
sure.
big fan of sweeteners, but a little bit of sweetness in this sometimes it really brings
I'll
out
try
some of the better tones.
Stevia, perhaps.
Sativa?
Yeah,
Is that
if
the
you're
one?
into it. Sativa. Maybe a nice indica.
Yeah, I am doing Denver Comic Con.
You are doing Denver
I
Comic.
am doing Denver.
That must
Listen,
be
I
fun.
need you to be a mule for me at the Denver Comic Con, by the
I'm
way.
gonna get arrested in Newark.
Do they have vendors there, marijuana vendors
I
at
don't
those
think
cons?
So. No.
Do
I
you
don't
think they
they're
break
allowed
into
to-
that by
I don't
now?
think they're allowed to do that.
They're not. They're. And
Yeah,
I'm
it'd probably be
speaking from
logistical nightmare. To
somebody
be able
who
to do that.
asked me to be a mule for him. Is like, listen, if there's anyone on the floor,
Yeah.
I need you to. And it's no one you all know.
Yeah.
But they're like, here's a shopping list, and you have to actually go to the dispensary. 'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
that makes
right.
sense.
It's hard enough for beer or liquor to get into conventions on the main floor. I'm sure something like that.
Yeah,
Can
think
I
you
tell
need a
the
license.
Lexington story?
Sure.
Lexington Comic Con, we love you, by the way. And we're there. It was our first year in Lexington. It was great. We were, Ming had announced that we're coming, and a guy who was the chairman of the Lexington Bourbon Association.
Yes.
He comes in, he's like, hey, Ming and Mike, I'm a huge fan. And he's like, starts talking to us. And
Why do you sound like Cletus?
I didn't
remember him sounding like
he
Cletus
did not
like
sound
that.
like Cletus. I'm sorry, you poor
Yeah,
Kentucky.
he was a very big
He was
fan.
very erudite. He sounded like, he sounded like.
Foghorn Leghorn now.
Exactly.
Now he's
I go
boss-
from one extreme to the other. Cletus or
He's
Foghorn.
Boss Hog now.
That's right there, Roscoe. Shook the
My
head.
goodness.
You dipstick.
Yeah, continue, Mike.
So he comes back not even a half an hour later with a cardboard box.
And it wasn't just him. It was him and his 5 family members.
Yes, and he had like little kids.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, Here, I want you to choose.
Boxes are full of bourbon.
Box is full
my
of
God.
bourbon.
top shelf. So we're
What
talking.
convention is this?
It was Lexington.
Lexington.
He's like, well, I got another one to do this year.
Bourbon
And,
capital. No, we'll
Yeah, this is what
We'll get
happens,
you in
you know?
there.
Oh, yeah, we'll hook
Because
you.
the guy was like, it was a double oaked Woodford, Four Roses, like single barrel.
Angels.
I was more
Envy.
Scotch, but now I'm really getting into bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And his business cards were made out of
Barrels. Yeah.
Wow.
He'd shaved the barrels and printed his stuff
Yeah.
on. He's an amazing
He
guy.
must
We
not
have it
hand
around
out
here
a lot of
someplace.
business cards.
Or he must hand out a lot of business cards.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get greedy, so I took like 2 bottles. Like, no, take more. So I took 2 more, and
And
he's
he
like,
just left the
Some
box.
for me.
yeah.
So
And
he says-
he went around and he made sure all the guests were taken care of, and then he came back and he was
And
like,
he-
well, no one wanted these, so I ended up having a whole.
We had a,
looked like a bar.
liquor cabinet
Yeah.
on there. I don't drink. So Ming is, I don't drink anything but coffee is what I mean to
Yes.
say. So Ming is, we got somebody to get us little glasses, little solo cups,
Yep,
Dixie
yep.
cups.
Well, what happened was people were coming up and they wanted selfies or autographs. They're like, so then they saw the liquor. They're like, so what, we doing a shot or what? And I'm like,
So Ming was
yeah,
drunk.
I guess we could. This started at 11 a.m.
Oh, no.
No, it started at 10.
Oh,
10:45 because
Yeah.
that's when he brought the box
Yeah.
back.
The con went
so
till 7.
10:45,
Wow.
and the con's going until 7, and Ming is drunk by 11:30.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but-
I had a great time.
Best
right?
con ever.
Doesn't remember it.
We went until 7, and then I had forgotten after the con at 8:30. I had agreed to do a bourbon. They called it a bourbon Q&A, where we were on a
Perfect.
panel.
It's like coffee and comics.
Yeah,
Q&A.
right?
Exactly, yeah.
Except, you had a panel of people asking questions, and before you answer the question, you had to take a shot.
Thus ensuring
Ah,
the
that's
veracity
not
of
bad.
your story.
Yeah.
So I had a designated liver. I was also on that panel.
Yeah.
So I brought someone up to drink for me. And they're like, well, how do we know you're being honest? I'm like, you know what? You
You don't.
don't.
you
You
don't. But
Don't.
I'll make it entertaining.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I was smashed by that. I passed
was-
out. It was a Saturday, I think, and I like to stay out late at cons and stuff. I was
was-
out by 10 o'clock.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I woke up at.
I was out. I
Yeah,
went
like-
out partying a little bit
Yeah.
with the people, and they're like, "Where's Ming?" I'm like, "He's probably passed out on the floor,
That's so
aspirating on his
I-
own vomit,
Some-
something like that."
Somehow made it back to my own room. I woke up at 4:30. Sports Center was on at full blast, and I had all my clothes on, so I had that going for me. But
You had fun.
yeah, I had fun. So thank you, Lexington, Amy. We will get you there for 2019.
That's awesome.
I would love that.
Do you have a favorite convention, Amy?
I have. People have asked me that, and I have favorite conventions for different purposes.
Okay.
So that makes sense.
Yeah,
that
you
makes
know?
sense.
Like my favorite convention, if I'm taking the family,
Uh-huh.
is San Diego because they love it.
Yeah.
You know? But it's not my favorite convention for
I don't think I've
variety
ever
of
heard
reasons.
a
Yeah.
single creator say it's their favorite creator.
It sounds like it's just chaos.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it is? It's like, it's not even that chaotic because you know exactly what it's going to be like.
Right.
And it's just going to be misery for creators.
Right.
But I always get something out of it. Are you trying to get my.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, he wants to get the thumbprint. So.
My favorite conventions, honestly, are the ones that treat the creators the best.
Yes, exactly. So I want to say Denver is right up there because, the litmus test for a convention is if they put the artist alley in the center of the floor,
Right.
they're automatically top,
Right.
right? And Denver is one of the very few that does that. CCXP in Sao Paulo also does that.
I've heard really good things
Yes,
about that
yeah,
one.
those guys are so smart. Again, convention organizers who go around take notes, what works, what doesn't at other conventions. Those
Yeah.
are like my favorite people. So
Yeah.
CCXP, Sao Paulo, amazing. They basically what they do is they get their corporate sponsors to basically pay for us, and we get to sit in the middle and just enjoy actually making. The
Wow,
it's
that's
fantastic.
cool.
Yeah.
It's really started to get lost on a lot of the bigger conventions because they bill themselves as a comic convention, but they're more of an entertainment convention. Because
Just call yourself a pop culture
A pop
con.
culture con, and
You
that's
know,
fine,
drop
but-
the comics then. Don't.
But I hate it when they treat you guys poorly because,
Yeah.
I mean, you are the reason why there are conventions in the
we
first
hate
place.
being treated poorly.
Yeah, I felt so bad for everybody in New York last year.
It was a mess. you know.
Yeah.
I mean, in their defense, I think the guys who try to run the Artist Alley, they really try. But
Yeah.
there's limitations with that space. If you
Especially
make,
when they knock down that whole other
yeah,
wing and
if
now
you
and
make the
everything.
decision to move the creators out into the lower rent space.
Right.
You know, you're making that decision. you
Yeah.
know, and we all know it. But very few of us can really just go into the main floor and just hold our own there. You know,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
Especially for me as a writer. You know, if you don't invite me as a guest, I can't go.
Yeah.
Because I'm there, I'm working, but I'm also not selling original artwork or anything.
Right.
I'm there mostly to sign.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part because people love just talking and getting their whatever it is signed. Sure, you get people who want to get stuff flipped and whatever, but the best conventions are the ones that show up with all 6 issues of Poison Ivy that have been read to death, and I get to sign all 6. That's like the best convention because that's been out since 2016, and people are still reading it.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
That's the best feeling. But at other conventions, you get all sorts of other people, but you also get the best conventions are the ones also where somebody comes up and say your comic was my first comic ever, and now I'm reading all this other stuff, and then you're
Yeah.
like, okay, you know what? That's like that makes up for everything else.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I'll say, my first major convention was New York in 2010, and that was before I was ever connected to this industry. I didn't know anybody. I went as a fan and immediately fell in love with a place like Artist Alley because I had no idea walking in that I could go up to somebody like Amy Chu and literally have my book signed
Yeah,
and
and we can
talk with
talk.
you. And it was
Hopefully we
it
can
was
talk.
it was mind blowing, and I fell in love with that ever since.
And as a new con goer, I think
Yeah.
the same thing for me. My first real convention, well, it was probably Baltimore, but
Yours
it was
Baltimore, yeah.
2016.
Baltimore's fantastic.
Yeah.
Baltimore, Heroes Con, those are
Yeah.
all comic-centric conventions that are
And that's
going
how I always imagined a Comic-Con was. When we went to New York in 2016, it was, get me off this main floor. This is
Yeah.
insanity. And we spent most of our time in Artist Alley because that's
good.
Yeah.
before I even attended a convention, which, was just yesterday pretty much.
Yeah.
That's how I imagined a convention would look like. It's a comic convention. The comic creators are there. You can talk to them. You can get your shit signed.
incredible.
That I didn't picture a floor full of toys and crazy people and costumes. It was madness.
Yeah.
We were in there for 10 minutes. I turned to Jeff. I said,
Get me outta here."
out of here. It was insane.
Yeah, they get nuts, but I do tell people no matter what convention they go to is to always spend time with the
Absolutely.
creators because I think that's the most bang for your buck. when you
Where
go.
else can you do that? I mean,
Yeah.
save your money. I know people want to spend their $50 or $75 to get a photo with somebody.
Right.
But you can go and you can talk to actual celebrities.
Like Ming.
Like me. Save your money. Go and
No, not like Ming because Ming will take a photo with you for nothing.
yeah.
Sometimes. In a toilet.
Why, has that happened?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It
Follow
has
Ming on
happened.
Instagram.
Yeah,
Is this a common occurrence?
Yeah, like,
it's
More common than
Is
you'd
this your
think,
photo booth?
Dustin.
it happened recently, and it happened my first time a couple years back. I was at MegaCon in Orlando, and I was going to the bathroom, and I was coming out, and this guy was like, dude, oh my God, you're Ming Chen from Comic Man. Oh, I need a photo. I'm like, all right.
Let me
well,
get my
let's-
zipper up first,
Yeah.
dude.
He was like, no.
So you know you made it when you're accosted.
Yeah, he really didn't want to make it shot. I was like, no, can we just take it right now? I'm like, yeah, I guess. So I take it with him.
In
I
the
find-
bathroom.
Yeah, he tagged me on Instagram, and you can see in the background, there guys peeing in the urinal. you can't see their junk or anything. It's
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
back.
Instagram wouldn't allow that.
Like, wow, that's really weird. And then recently, I think I was at
It's
the airport
different.
or something, and this guy did when he let me wait. We went outside. The bathroom.
That's good.
Nice.
What a
Went by
gentleman.
The breastfeeding station. So.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson, but yeah, I guess some people don't want to lose their shot. So
Guess not.
Well, one of my favorite experiences was when we were at the airport with Wallace Shawn.
we were.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, we
right?
were in Calgary, which is another amazing convention.
Yes,
I give them a
yes.
shout out.
Calgary's
I
right up.
They-
This is what I'm saying. It's hard to pick one single
Right,
convention.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Calgary is
they feed
amazing.
their artists. They have a cart. Don't they have a food cart going around?
They
You can-
have a rolling green room, and it's not just the snacks, like
so
airport
smart.
snacks. It is like top quality. They want to make sure we're happy and hydrated. So it's like coconut water, like just
Yeah.
like high end.
good
I want
stuff.
to go to there.
This
You
is
do.
not-
You do.
The cart's got a fryer later on it.
This is not the norm for Comic Cons.
No, it's
and then
not.
Even
It's
in
not.
the the celebrity green rooms, sometimes they'll throw some sandwiches they got at the supermarket. This place they had chefs cooking in there.
For your green room, not our green
Yeah,
room.
I'm just
Because you're a
but-
media guest. I'm a comics guest.
As we were leaving, though, we saw Wallace Shawn, who we may know from
Inconceivable.
yes, who you may know from Princess Bride and Southland Tales. I mean, he's been in pretty
A
much
ton
everything.
of stuff.
Clueless.
Yeah.
Clueless, yeah.
Yeah, so we actually shared a ride. You were gracious enough to invite me in the van, and then he showed up.
Yeah.
And he was on my list because I really, really wanted to meet him, but I was trying to be cool about it.
Yeah. But once you're dumped off at the airport, your handler goes away. So you're kind
Right.
of responsible for getting yourself to the gate and all that. And, he's an older gentleman, and
Yeah.
we're in a foreign country. So, you're going to put your bag through a weird x-ray machine. There's customs, and you have to scan your passport and all that. And so we ended up helping him out. And we were early, so we all ended up having lunch together.
That's so cool.
And
He bought us lunch. It was really, really nice.
But what I really loved was he was genuinely interested in you as a writer and your comics.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, do you have any on you? I want to read them on the flight home."
Wow. Did you have any on him?
I did. I gave him some. I mean, I don't want to be like, here, read my comics, but he did actually read it. By the end of the flight, he was in first class, but, he came back and he was like, I really enjoyed them. So.
That's so cool.
But what's really fun, and this is what I'm saying, because we can do this. This isn't Hollywood, it's comics. So I put him in Red Sonja. He's in Red Sonja.
Really?
Professor
that's
Ross.
awesome.
That's him.
That's so cool.
That's
That's
him.
so
He's a
cool.
mage. So now he has magical
Does he
powers.
know?
I don't know if he knows.
We should let him know. That's incredible.
It's kind of a weird thing. Hey, guess what? You're in Red Sonja now.
That's so cool. And you've been now going back to your comics. You've been working on some incredible titles. Poison Ivy is one of my favorites
Oh,
too.
thank you.
I love
Wow.
that line. I hope that you get to write that character again. Because I feel that is an underappreciated character in the DC universe.
Right, yes.
And I really loved your take on her.
Thank you so much.
But now doing Red Sonja, you're doing Deja Thoris, which is incredible. And I want to talk about Green Hornet
Oh,
as well.
yes, yes.
Issue 1 just hit, right? Just came out?
Yes, right? Let me see.
Yeah, I
What
believe
did
it just
get?
came out.
Yes,
2 weeks
okay.
ago.
All right, you should
I have
know.
yet to read it, so
Thank you,
no
Mike.
spoilers.
Okay, we'll not say
But I do
anything.
want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting that you're doing a woman as Green Hornet. And I love talking to creators about this because this is through Dynamite, which they're Dynamite. They're
Right,
great.
right.
I love that comic company.
They give me a lot of work.
Was that your idea? Or was that theirs?
No, actually, it was okay. Green Hornet was my idea. Making Green Hornet a woman was actually their idea.
Wow,
yeah,
cool, good on them.
It was cool, except this is kind of the joke. I'm happy to be doing it, but it's
Yeah.
really funny because, when Nick asked me on the panel, what I want to do next, I said Green Hornet because I'm thinking, I want to do a male superhero, because the default is to
Yeah.
try to get me to do another sexy female.
Right,
That's
right.
fine. But I'm like, my chance to finally do a male superhero.
Yeah.
And I get the email later on from Nick. Oh, by the way, did you know that we're changing it to a woman? So I'm like, oh my god, okay, that's fine because it's Kato's daughter, so I can totally do
That's
that. I can
cool.
totally channel
Oh,
Kato's
so it's
daughter.
Kato's. Because I was going to ask,
Yes.
how does she fit into the lore?
But to sort of accomplish my own objectives as a writer. So what I'm doing is, yes, she is the Green Hornet, but I'm also talking about really the history of who gets to be Green Hornet.
Right.
Right?
Oh,
I mean, Green
cool.
Hornet is older than Superman, older than Batman.
1930s radio.
Yeah,
Incredible.
not as old as Dick Tracy, but by just like a couple years.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, it's really about, again, talk about underappreciated character.
Yes.
Right?
definitely.
So my objective here is to get more people reading Green Hornet, understanding Green Hornet. And look, I mean, Green Hornet has so many more layers than Batman. Green
definitely.
Hornet is a public villain in, it's like, Green Hornet is like being an undercover cop.
Right.
And that's really a lot more tricky to write. So if I
bet.
can pull this off, be very happy.
I'm very excited about it. And
I heard it's going to be martial arts heavy.
yes.
That's
yes.
very exciting.
That's exciting.
Very much, because it's Kato's daughter,
Yeah.
and also, look, I was born here. I was born in Boston, but my parents are from Hong Kong. My
Yeah.
family is originally from Hong Kong, and everyone there are huge Green Hornet fans because of Bruce Lee.
Of course.
Not
I mean, that
because
was,
of the Green Hornet himself. It's Kato,
yeah,
right?
when Bruce took that role, that was just
That made-
groundbreaking.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
So I really want to, pay respect to that tradition, and that's what's going to. Because honestly, there are not that many comics out right now that have any martial arts, right? I mean, in any significant way.
Not that I really can think of. I mean, like
there's
even
Iron Fist, but
yeah, but even I was
Yeah.
gonna say even with Marvel with like Iron Fist and like those types of characters, they're really pushed into the background at this
Yeah.
point, comics wise. So
So for a situation like this, do you look into Jeet Kune Do?
Oh, okay. So what I've done is I keep sending little YouTube videos to the artists, because what's interesting
Oh,
to
right.
me.
Yeah. To give them an idea of what they
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not just about Jeet Kune Do. I think wushu is actually very elegant and it works really well with the story. So I've made her more wushu than Jeet Kune Do.
Cool. That
Yeah.
makes sense because I
Right.
mean, even though Bruce Lee was Jeet Kune Do, Kato was
but
technically
his
not.
origins were really actually rooted in wushu.
Yeah.
So and it's also more interesting because I got a lot of staff action going on, staff fighting.
Very cool.
And that's what I'm working on right now. Issue 4. Yeah.
Cool.
So
That sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds exciting.
But your career's taken some even cooler turns outside of like being able to write iconic characters like Green Hornet and stuff like that. You just wrapped up a run on Kiss, which
Oh, yeah.
is incredible.
oh, thank you.
And also you did that book with Run DMC.
Yes,
Which
yes.
was it? Which is incredible. How did jobs like that come across? Like, because those again seem like bucket list type things.
Yeah, well, because I go for the bucket list. I
Yeah.
have
Nice.
bucket list.
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't live forever.
Right.
I don't believe in reincarnation. I think I've got a finite number of years to write. And I want to make sure I hit all those things. So, yeah, exactly. Like, I'm like, if I, just 5 issues of Kiss, I would write. I got 10 good issues in. I feel really good about that.
I mean, but again, like, was that you kind of saying to the universe, I want to do Kiss and making that happen? Or was it?
Partly. Part of it was understanding, the title has to be available. I'm not
Right.
kicking anybody off, anything, right? It's
Right.
I got to be like, well, what do you guys have that, and I will express an interest, a deep interest
Yeah.
in certain things, and also coming up with good ideas. It's not like you just get a job. You got to be like, I got to have an idea. And Kiss was hard
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah.
been a lot of Kiss comics.
Oh, my
It's like, where
gosh.
do you go with Kiss? You got
Right.
40 years of Kiss. And it was very much okay. Can we do Kiss in the future? Because I don't think we've done that.
Yeah.
And can we do Kiss, but it's not Kiss? Can we do
Right?
that?
Can
And
we
they're
do
like,
that?
yeah, I think so.
That's so much fun. So on this show, we always come to this point, and I'm always curious about the answer. With your career and your attitude of just going out there and getting it done, like you said, you're not going to live forever. You want to get whatever you can get out of this life. What fuels you to keep doing what you're doing, to keep going out there and chasing the jobs that you really want?
You know what it is? At least for me, it's just getting better and better at what I do with the stories. It's hard because I think you could start, the what is that Olympic sport, like the biathlon, where you have to shoot, but you're also skiing down
Right,
the hill.
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
get better at the biathlon because that's what these monthly comics are about. You
Yeah.
know, you do the graphic novels are cool. I love the idea you could just sit in your room for a whole year, but this is different. This is very exciting. It's like, what is the best book I can possibly put out within this crazy time frame?
Very
So
cool.
that's hard.
So,
Which
any
is, yeah.
any bucket list things you want to say out into the universe right now that
Oh,
we can
God.
make a reality?
I don't know.
The last time you did, it was Green Hornet, and it happened.
It did
so,
happen.
I mean,
It did happen. And well, I'm working on so much stuff right now that I can't even tell you about right now.
I
like
love
I'm
that.
just kind of like, it's crazy. I've gotten almost all my bucket list items.
Wow.
done.
that's incredible. You got
Yeah.
to start another list.
I got to start. I do. I have to start another list.
Yeah.
It's a little weird. That's never happened to me before in my life. It's
That's a good place, though.
it is. It is. It's super cool.
So finally, then, what can we say is coming out that you can talk about? Green Hornet's going to be ongoing for a
Green
while.
Hornet, let me see. I got it. I brought the. This just came out. The Secret Loves of Geeks. I have a story in here. These are all. This is what I can do because now I feel like I'm tapped out in a lot of ways. But short stories I can still do.
Yeah.
So I got something in here with Valentine DeLandro from Bitch Planet.
Oh, very
So that
cool.
was also a bucket list. Part of my bucket list is not even the titles. It's just working with friends.
Yes.
Working with
Oh,
cool
cool.
people in the
Yep.
business. So, not that I wouldn't work with Val again. I'm like, okay, but I got that.
You got it at least once. Yeah,
I
yeah.
check that off of the bucket list.
That's awesome.
I'm co-writing Red Sonja now with Eric Burnham, who's really. I have to say he's better at the Red Sonja dialogue because we're back in Harcania. So,
Right, yeah.
So that's going on. So we're still on board through issue 21.
Excellent.
I've worked out that whole arc, which is really fun, and hopefully people have stayed on board through the whole thing because it's going to all come together.
nice.
It's going
That's
to all
fun.
come together. That's my whole thing. I have to write the ending before I get everything done.
Right.
So you have a really great. Yeah, everything will come together.
Oh, that's exciting.
Let's see, what else do I have? Deja Thoris is out.
Yeah.
Oh, Summit #4 just came out.
Oh yeah, I heard
Yeah.
about this. That's
So,
great. Yeah,
I'm
talk a little
very-
bit about this
Okay,
one.
so female astronaut. First of all, this is an all-women team.
Uh-huh.
You know, which is Jan Duursma is doing the. It's not. You know, now the colorist is Paul Mounts, but you know, me and Jan have done the 4 issues, and it's great because on a number of fronts, you know, I'm just sort of tired of tropes. You know, in comics.
Yeah.
It's very easy, honestly, to get into the trope business because
Yeah.
especially when you're on deadline. So, you know, Summit is she's an astronaut, goes up in space, comes back. Basically, her DNA is altered, so she actually has the powers of plasma fusion. But it's an issue. You know, part of it is the whole survival issue because, you know, she lives and a lot of people don't during this catastrophic event, right? But she also doesn't want people to know that she's got this power. It's really kind of problematic. She just wants to live a normal life, as much as a normal life an astronaut can lead.
Right.
But you know, she needs to come to terms with a lot of issues. You know, she's got some mental health issues, and she's got the biggest problem is if you've got the powers of plasma fusion, you can actually annihilate everyone around you. So she's also got to learn how to control that power.
Yeah.
So there's a
That's
lot.
exciting.
Yeah, it's
You made it
fun.
hard on yourself.
I did, because it's not a funny book. Like
No.
Red Sonja,
Yeah.
Red Sonja can be funny. There's
Oh,
a lot of
yeah.
action. It's light. This has a lot of layers. It's a lot deeper.
It sounds like a real perspective on like somebody
Yeah.
who's dealing with a situation like that would go through.
Because she's also gay, and she's teamed up with her ex-husband. So there's that part.
Oh man.
So he's
Wow.
trying to help her.
Piling
Drama.
on this poor character.
Well, I also realize we as readers, as audiences, we want that element.
Yeah.
You know, there's the part of the soap opera that we need to have. That's what makes Walking Dead interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the soap opera stuff.
Yeah.
It's not-
I feel like that soap operas have never gone away. They've just changed. You know, we have Sons of Anarchy, which is like a motorcycle soap opera, and The Walking
Exactly.
Dead, which is. And I talk about this all the time because it blows my mind. It's fun. Nobody wants to read a story or watch a story about everything going right. You know.
No, yeah, this is an MIT geek soap opera with robots.
That's so
awesome.
That's so cool. You're working so hard. You're pushing out all these books. You're working on stuff you can't even talk about. Do you ever get time to read yourself? Or is there any comics or writers or artists that you're really digging at this moment?
It's really important to be reading. I'm not doing a great job of it. I have a huge pile of stuff.
Me too. I have a
Yeah,
stack like this.
I have
on my
like
desk.
a pile of shame. There are. It's you know what it is. It's and it's terrible. I treat it like homework because I'm like if I'm writing something like Summit, I feel like I need to see what else is out there that's similar.
Yeah.
Or I'll read certain writers that I really respect. But of course, then it ends up being in a pile, and you know.
Right.
Without question, I'm pretty faithful to reading anything that Terry Moore puts out.
Yeah.
Partly too because of his style. I'm really in favor of the minimalist style, and
Yeah.
he just does it so well. And so I can go through, and then I will dissect some of his storylines where I'm like, okay, how did he treat this particular scene? And I just make little notes of that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
Very, very cool.
Yeah. So Terry Moore, I have no problem like just giving him a huge shout out because I really respect what he does.
Yeah,
You
for
know.
sure. We can't thank you enough for being on the show.
Oh, thank you.
Finally, just for all of our listeners and watchers out there, what is the best way to follow Amy Chu and what
I
you
was
do
gonna
and where
say
you're going?
Facebook. No, I'm just kidding. Well, right now I'm really having a good time on Instagram.
Okay.
I'm Amy
Yes.
_Chu, and because I'm into food and coffee.
Oh,
I
yeah.
put all that. That's where you get the the comics and the food and the coffee and whatever else I'm doing. I'm also on Twitter, AMYCHU. So that's where you get the not the food pics, but
Yep.
I will.
And you update pretty much your convention schedule there. And stuff.
Yeah. I will definitely. I have a website. It's iwritecomics.com.
Yep.
And that's actually where my full convention schedule is.
Excellent. I'll put all those links in this show.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Awesome.
for this wonderful, delicious barrel brand coffee too. I'm
Yeah,
really
it definitely hits a spot.
yeah.
I'm very, very, very.
I'm in a
liking
good space now.
it, too.
It is.
This has been Fueled by Deathcast, a Death Wish Coffee Company podcast production. Thanks for listening.